and go. What's up, everybody? Coach Chris here from Life 15 Better Fitness. And you know I say it every time, the only way to a better life is going to be through a better you. And the only way to that better you is going to be through a better mindset and better life relationships. And you know I always hug myself because outside of God, the most important relationship is going to be the one I have with myself. And I'm blessed and humbled. I have this amazing woman here by the name of JessicaReigner. She's a myth, she's a legend, but she's still living and she's breathing. And we're going to dig in to her to find out what makes her so successful and so fulfilled and so happy with life. Welcome, Jessica. Thank you for taking the time.
It's so awesome to be here. Coach Chris, thank you so much.
You made my week. You've made my whole semester. If I was still in school, this would be the best semester right now, just so you know.
Awesome. I love it. You look like you could still be in school.
Yeah, girl, stop. You know what? It might be that collagen elixir, but we're not going to make this a commercial. And, I will say, getting back on that collagen, I saw your transformation and it was phenomenal. And seeing a lot of the women post their pictures forced me, as a man who doesn't care about collagen, who really doesn't care about cosmetics, it forced me to get some. So I'm glad you all did that. But so from what I know, all I know is the myth, the legend is JessicaReigner. Anytime you talk about isogenics, they talk about you.
Oh, thank you.
Even the people that they talk about, this guy Jim is so-and-so and this, and Jim's like, oh, and then Jessica has done, it's like, okay, then you got to talk to Jessica. No. When legends talk about another legend, you got to talk to that legend. So I'm glad I got you here. And I want to take a step back. I want to know, where did Jessica start? Where did she come from before she landed at Isogenics?
Oh my gosh, Chris, how far do you want to go back?
Girlfriend, how far back will you go? I'm not scared.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you what, and I think to who you are and kind of the DNA of where you're at with share with people. I'm an only child of parents who really, really had a hard time having a baby. And in fact, we're told my dad had testicular cancer before they even attempted to have me. And it looked the chances of having a baby were very slim.
Right.
And I'll tell you, they just had this belief they would do what it takes. And I'm so grateful to have been raised by them. And I always say that the greatest thing if by God's grace, all of this, God just blessed us in so many ways. And I think the first blessing that I can remember is he gave me parents that poured so much belief into me and an amazing money mindset, a success blueprint and a money mindset that I've been grateful for my whole life. In fact, I have to tell you, I honestly believed that my family was wealthy until I was an adult. And my mom heard me say that and laughed. And she said, what in the world? Are you crazy? My dad worked in a trucking company. He was laid off often. My mom worked as a nurse. She would work overnight. But honestly, I just remember there was always plenty. There was never, ever a conversation about lack. Never. It was always about abundance. And it specifically was about what I could do in the world, anything. And they really knew limits. And I honestly, gosh, there's the story I probably shouldn't even tell, but just about my mom people said, is your mother going to be mad at you? And I said, my mom is going to be surprised that I didn't talk my way out of it. Because my mom and honestly, you know what? It's so funny is that was her reaction, is she was shocked that I got into some trouble in college. And she just said, wow, I'm surprised that you weren't able to get out of that.
I love it.
That's how I live. That's how I was raised by this. I mean, I'm their only child. And so they just pour belief in me so much. And so anything I ever did, it was just with this certainty that it would all work out, that there'd always be abundance. And that came from them. I mean, my dad passed when I was 20, but him and my mom, just a huge part of anything I ever did. I can't even believe the stuff I've done. I look back and go, how'd you do that? I'm like, I don't know. My mom said I could. She believed it.
I mean, that's incredible. And because one of my questions coming up was, were there generational belief structures and limiting beliefs that you had to break and redo yourself to get where you are? However, your parents just poured into your cup. This is going to make you the badass woman, the myth, the legend you're going to be from the beginning, which I think is a rarity. And when you say blessing, that is a blessing.
There's a couple of things that, and honestly, I just look at how I'm raising my own kids, and I just think what our kids are hearing us talk about ourselves, about them, it becomes the heartbeat of their identity for their whole life. I'm living it. My mom would say, "Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be." And so it was to let go of this outcome. God will bless the outcome. Not everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for an opportunity, for your good, for your favor. And so that became the identity of my life.
Nice. So hearing that they would just do what it takes people. And of course, as a child, when we look at our parents, we are using them as that source. You know, when it comes down to it, parents are the God for the children. They're God to children because they give you everything you need. And to know that you got all your nutrients of greatness from them, and to hear you say that, "Oh my God, we're wealthy," your mom's like, "No, we're not." Girl, you know we're not. However, they already knew what it took to be wealthy, and money doesn't make wealth. What your parents gave you is the richest thing they could ever give you. Yeah. Love, support, and apparently, which most parents I think miss is seeing their child's identity and embracing that. And I know my parents gave me a lot, but it was me growing up. It was more, we got to change his identity because this dude's bad. I was a bad kid. I like saying I was misunderstood, but what it was is my identity didn't fit into schooling the way it was. I couldn't sit in a desk. I don't want to touch things. I want to take it apart, put it back together. And school doesn't support that. And it's amazing to hear that your parents said, Jessica is going to be a leader. She's going to be this, and this. Feed into that. Don't get mad because she can talk her way out of the situation. Feed into it. Yeah. And so I like that.
It's true.
So, and my next question was, what was little Jess like? What was little Jess like?
Oh, it's unique. Really, really nerdy. I had a briefcase and I loved to read. And my kids, people are surprised because they see me talk on stage and they, see me. I built a social networking business and people think, oh, you must be like love to be around people. And frankly, I'm an only child who liked to read. When I would get into trouble, this is embarrassing because my best friend was driving a car and I remember her driving by my house and the lights in my bedroom were turned off and she knew I was in trouble because I like to read. And my mom would say, "No lights tonight. You're not having the lights on to read." And that was a punishment. So I'll tell you what, I just developed this love of reading. And that was, I love to read. There was nobody around. I didn't have any brothers and sisters. So I just love to read. And here's the crazy thing is that is what got me interested in personal development. My mom worked in a nursing home and I would go with her to work and people drop off their old books for the nursing home lobby, for the little sitting room that they have in nursing homes. And people had dropped off Zig Ziglar. They had dropped off T. Harv Ever. And I love to read. So I'd read anything. People go, "You read that book?" Oh my gosh, I read Zig Ziglar and Dale Carnegie back long before I had any business doing that. Wow. 14, 15 years old. And I loved it.
Wow. And Dale Carnegie, I just read him 4 months ago. Yeah. Profound book. I mean,
Win Friends and Influence People changed my life. I have my kids read it. I mean, it's important. My oldest daughter is 14. I said, she likes personal development. You want to be the best person. You want to be the best connector. I don't care what you do. And she's like you, where school isn't a natural alignment for her. But she has impact and service. And I think if you can refine your character at 14 years old, you will be the most impactful human being that you'll ever know. You'll leave the world so much better than you found it if you can refine that character now.
Exactly. Well, this conversation is going in a different direction than I had anticipated. Luckily, I don't live through expectations, luckily. If you could give advice to a new parent, single or coupled up, what would be the biggest piece of advice you could give to that new parent with their child or children?
Oh, wow, Chris. To say that, I think people probably should understand a background of mine. So I told you I'm an only child. I
Right.
never was that. When I had my I also struggled to have children. And so 5 years after trying to have a baby, I have my oldest daughter. And through fertility, we brought home boy girl twins on her second birthday. So here I am for 5 days. My husband and I have 3 babies
Wow.
under 2 years old for 5 days. So boy girl twins and then an older daughter. And I had, frankly, I mean, my corporate career was so demanding that we had a live-in nanny for over 6 years. And then when network marketing brought me out of corporate America, allowed me to be home and do this business from here, our live-in nanny found a new family and I became a full-time mom. And I think you know that led to us becoming foster parents and advocates for foster care. And now we have an adopted daughter and became a transracial family and advocates for that. So wild journey in parenting. So for many years, Chris, the thought of someone asking me for advice on parenting would have made a lot of people laugh because I was always said the hot mess express. I'm just showing up and parenting is happening around me. And so I think what I would say though now, I have a 14-year-old daughter, 12-year-old boy-girl twins, and I have this amazing 4-year-old who has been adopted just over a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
I would say that truly I want to pass on to these kids what my mom and dad gave to me, which is I tell them all the time who they are. I remind them like, this is who you are, because that negative self-talk that the world will infuse you with, that is so loud in people's heads as they get older. And that abundance conversation, that anything is possible. What do you want? Doing vision boards, imprinting this DNA into them that just says anything is possible. You can be, do, and have whatever you want, and you're amazing. And God made you exactly how you are. And telling them like it can all work out. When we would travel, just some examples of things that my mom would say. She would say, if we forget it, we can get it whenever we get there. There's nothing we couldn't get when we get there. And people think, oh, that's just a mechanical thing. That is a freeing feeling. That's a way to live life. That there's no fear of scarcity. If I don't have it, I will get it. And so that is just one example of how she lives. If we don't have it, we will get it. And that is a freeing feeling for people. I see so many people that are so locked up and paralyzed by this fear that something could be missing in them, in their world, materially.
Exactly.
There's a freedom to that. And so that's, if people are asking your advice, it is to intentionally speak into your kids who they are.
I love that. Intentionally speaking to your
Pray
children.
over them, whisper in their ear when they're sleeping. You are amazing. Trinity, who's 4 years old, will go through this and I'll say, repeat after me. I am kind. I am fabulous. I am brave. I am strong. I am beautiful. I am amazing. And to hear her last year, 3-year-old voice, this year, 4-year-old voice, the confidence that she exudes. And honestly, she puts that into other people. She speaks that. I hear her talking to her friends and saying, you are amazing. You are so strong. What you give people foundationally, they impart to other people. And I think that's the best parenting advice that I have.
I will say that's profound. And I love it. I love it. And I'm going to coin this as your quote. I'm going to put your name on it. And anytime I use it, it will say the myth, the legend, Jessica-Reigner. I'll have it down for you, but intentionally speaking to your children who they are. And when I do marriage counseling, one of the biggest things I tell people is the way you speak to your wife, husband, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever, that is who they're going to be. You're a loser. I know you're cheating on me. Sooner or later, that person's going to cheat on you. And so speaking to them who they are and where you, in the direction you want them to go, especially with positivity. And I love that. And what I'm hearing here, if I had to put that into an analogy, is like an acorn in an oak tree. Everything you have is already there. You have to provide the nutrients to grow it and bring it out. And so I love that. So I heard you talk about corporate and then isogenics. Corporate life, what did you do? What was your corporate life?
I was a VP of sales, and I was part of a team that sold a company to one of the largest banks in the world, and then stayed at that bank for 4 years, running some teams as a vice president. And it was a big corporate job. It was a lot of travel, it was a lot of large accounts, an amazing team. And then we left that bank and we went to another company, a social media technology company, and did a lot of the same things, equity holder in the company. Just really success in corporate America for sure. We had such a great run in corporate America, but it was it was not easy to have all of that mix.
Okay. So that's like me talking to Tom Brady right now, saying, Tom Brady, what the hell are you thinking leaving the Patriots, brother, to go to Tampa Bay? What made you, with all this success and abundance, leave this corporate job to go do Isagenix, do network marketing, you know, the pyramid scheme stuff? What made you make that jump?
I know. And I was walking away from an enormous income and a big upside, and the company was about to sell. And I left all that equity on the table. And I will tell you, it was the greatest decision. A lot of people have said to me, like, are you crazy? At the time, it was intervention type time when people were saying to me, is everything okay? Do we need to get a professional involved? And I will say to you, I've had that intuition. What the catalyst for making that decision though was I saw this opportunity and I thought this model is brilliant. A lot of people misunderstand it, but it is a brilliant model and we could do this. Other people were doing it. And so here's what I say to people. If someone else has already done it, it's possible. Possible for one person, it's possible for anyone.
Exactly.
Wow, there are people making $1 million a year from home in residual automated passive income. And I'm killing myself. If I don't show up, I don't make money. I'm trading time. And what the catalyst though was for making the decision was my oldest daughter, Avery. At the time I'm running to catch a train from Philadelphia to New York City. And at the same time, she's coming out of her bedroom. And she was, it was about 7 years ago. So she's like almost 7 years old. And here she comes with these jeans that are just floods. They're just way too short. Hadn't gone through her closet to get them out. And here she is in these short jeans. And it highlighted to me, it was like a spotlight. It was just looking at her for the first time. And it highlighted to me this fleeting moments of her childhood, how much she was growing before my eyes. And it was like, as a parent, just this profound realization that it was flying. The days are long, but the years are short.
Yeah.
And that hit me. I remember driving to 30th Street Station in Philadelphia, and all the way there, just this tape playing in my head that you're missing it. You're going to get to the end of your life and you're going to realize it passed you by. She'll be gone. And at the time, she's 7 years old, and I'm thinking, there's only 11 years that she'll be home. And she'll be gone. This is almost halfway over this time with her. And thinking of that, I just thought, wait a second. If I have this vehicle where I could potentially surpass what I'm doing to trade this time for money, let's go. I could do this. I'll bet on and that confidence that my parents gave me, that foundation that said, I'll bet on myself. If it is to be, it will be up to me. Let's go. I'd rather bet on myself.
Oh, absolutely.
So I walked away about 6 months into network marketing with, some evidence that we could really do this, but a huge delta between what I was earning and what I was making in corporate America. Went on faith. And my husband and I had bought real estate, and we've always been into passive residual income. We had real estate at the New Jersey shore. And it was only one of the properties we used recreationally. We rented, but we would also use for 2 weeks out of the summer.
Right.
And I never envisioned a time when I'd be able to actually live at the beach for the summer. But that summer, moved my kids down there, and I built this business sitting on the beach, watching them boogie board, watching my son learn to surf. And it was they'll never forget that summer. They'll never forget that was a full-time mom building a business. And in 2 years, and just over 2 years in network marketing, taking a gamble on myself, my husband and I earned $1 million in the company. So not what we sold, what we earned in our bank account, $1 million. We became recognized as Isagenix millionaire, like 164, something like that, 160
Wow.
something. And I tell that story though, because I watch people that they hesitate, they can't make a decision, and it's painful, it's tough.
It is.
But sometimes those hard, scary decisions become the pivot point for the greatest things that ever happened in your life. And that led us to foster care and adoption and advocacy and this ripple effect of what we've watched happen.
See, and I think that is the most profound thing you just said out of that statement was the ripple effect from you taking that risk, improving your lives, actually benefited other lives. And I think a lot of people miss the fact that the more you have, the more you can give. And that is the beautiful thing about this. And one thing I do like about Isagenix is the network marketing structure, and then how they position it and add their spin to it is you cannot be successful if you don't develop somebody that you're sponsoring or that you brought on. You have to build up people to build yourself up. You can't be greedy. You can't be selfish.
That's the truth. I think it's been a blessing, because if you look at corporate America, like, you're, to some degree, I was invested in my team's success. I want them to win. But in corporate America, it's a lonely place, because you're gunning for the top and you're competing with other people, and there is this friction. And here it really is, we're all on the same side of the table, and it's collaborative, and everyone has the same opportunity. I have people that I've brought on that can pass me. Everyone has the same opportunity. People say, like, you made a reference to people talking about a pyramid scheme. And I really understand when people think that. People say, is that what it is? And I always ask them, what do they mean? And I said, my husband is a high school principal, right? And the high school principal is never gonna, their teachers are never gonna out earn the principals, right? And there's more teachers. And then there's assistants and paraprofessionals and cafeteria people, and there's more of them. And I just think the structure of a school, a church, the CEO and the vice presidents and the presidents and all of these people under them, that is a pyramid. This is truly, it's an opportunity where, I just used to say it's a geometric progression of virtual franchises. It really is this opportunity for anyone to earn. It's a global distribution. And people see it like that, they go, wait a second, so you can show me how to set up a virtual franchise, a residual income where impact is commensurate with income? What industry can you, and I tell you that impact is commensurate with income. The more people you touch, the more money you make.
Wow. And I mean, the way you put it, I mean, if I wasn't already involved, I mean, I'm about to call you and say, hey girl, offline, we're talking, because I've never thought to explain it that way, because when you think about it, there's nothing pyramid about it, because like they say, when the tide rises, all ships rise with it. In a company, it doesn't work that way.
It's the truth. It really does. Yeah.
The top is the top, and it stays that way.
Well, and when people look at this, I just say, here's the reality is, I was very blessed financially in corporate America. I had money in no time, right? And I realized when I had both, it takes money to help people, right? I always had a good blueprint about money. I always knew, like, you can love the Lord and be a Christian and be blessed by God and accept that. And money is not bad. In fact, it's the only thing you can use to help people without money. It's really what is going to change the world. And so I just looked at this opportunity and thought, wow, if I could give people time and money, other people, not just me, because they'd hear about what we had done in foster care, and they'd say, I would do that. I would tell them about the need in my county, and I would say, we need great families to get involved. We need good people to step up and say, use me. And they would say, gosh, I would do that in my area if I had the time, the resources, the money.
Right. Yeah.
Do it. And I would think, if I could show people like me who have the desire to leave the world better, if I could show them how to have all those things, what could we do to create change? And so I just wanted to go out and create surplus for people and show them this will fill you up, to give to people something that changes the way they feel and they look. It'll change your life. That feels so good. But then to be paid for that, to create an automated income, to be a smart, financially brilliant, have a financial backstop around your family that nothing can touch, not 2020, not financial crisis, not 2008. None of that can touch your family. I just wanted to empower people like that.
Absolutely. And just touching on some things you said, when I heard you speak about people thought we need to have an intervention because she's leaving this amazing corporate job. I tell people when people think you're crazy, it's because they don't hear or see what you're hearing or seeing. And you saw something no one else saw because you're like, I'm going to bet on me. And I know if I put everything into this, I'm going to make it work. And it's better to get paid for your sweat than get paid for your time. And that is something that, I live by, and I've been really putting into my children. So I was going to ask what fuels you, but I think you just told me what fuels you. And that is you're going to change the world by changing people in the world. And the better they are, the better the world is. I mean, and that it's so simple. It can't get any easier than that. Then improve people and you improve everything else. And so I'm going to skip that question because you hit it on the head. So, and I would say what book, you gave me a lot already. What book most impacted your life? And so is it, so which one is it? Because you named.
It most impacted my life is a big question, but I'll tell you a couple that came at a fork in the road and they made me better. They made me think. They are books that I come back to.
Okay.
So there's a book that everyone needs to know about it. I feel like it's very rarely talked about, but it's a book called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. It's by a woman, Lynn Grabhorn. I just love this book. And it's an amplifier of the law of attraction. And she's a powerful woman, and it's a great relatable book. Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. The book that really changed what I thought was possible was a book called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Big time. I love that book so much. The Four Agreements was a book that opened my eyes to a lot of things. A lot of people love that book. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I love personal development books. I like The Energy Bus by a guy named John Gordon. He wrote a series of books that people probably have heard of, but The Energy Bus was a great one. I will pick up any books about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, language.
Yes.
And I think, wow, imagine we can all be better. Communicators, closers, connectors, relators, relationship builders. We can all do better. And I just think, man, there's so much great personal development content. I like there's a book that recently I did with the team. This is before you came on. We should do it again. But it was called, it's by Catherine Zenkina, and it's How to Attract $1,000 in 30 Days, I think. And it's a workbook where you can make $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, but every day she gives you some exercises to do. Very digestible, really great book. But it's like $19 on Amazon, and it's a workbook. Honestly, nice. You need the workbook. Manifestation Base is her podcast. She gives great constructive tips.
I love it. Yeah. So 3 of the books I haven't read, and that's going to be, I'm going to get those today. Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. I love the title. Energy Boss, and then How to Attract $1,000 in 30 Days.
Yes. Nice. Add one more because it's recently one that I read recently, and a bunch of my girlfriends that I gave it to have said, this is some new awesome content in here, and it's called The Audacity to Be Queen. Okay. And that you coach, I mean, it has some biblical basis. She's a Christian, but her name is Gina DeVee. And I'll tell you what, The Audacity to Be Queen, when someone recommended it to me, sometimes I'm skeptical because a lot of people tell me read this book by my friend, and I'm not sure if it's any good, but it was, I bought the hard copy and the Audible because it was that good. Wow. Audacity to Be Queen.
Nice. Well, I got my hands full with books. I'm gonna take those. And I'm gonna tell you, I spoke with Janelle, and she said, "Hey, Chris, Jess said, get that Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset." Yeah. And I've already listened to that like 5 or 6 times. I have it on audio book, and I have a thing called Net Time that I got from Tony Robbins. No extra time. You always, if you go audio or a podcast, you can do it anytime you drive. So I'm a firm believer what you ingest and digest will manifest. And so outside of coaching classes, I don't listen to music. Everything is a podcast or it's an audio book until I have time to sit down and read. So I'm on round number 6 with that book right now. And it's amazing.
Life changer.
It is. So have you read The Untethered Soul?
No.
Okay, I'm going to recommend you, even
Okay.
though you are already who you are, this book was one of the best books I ever read just because it really forces you to step outside of your life and stop being a character in the movie that is being produced and be the producer that tells the character how to respond.
I love it. I love it.
And it gives you way more control over your reality versus being totally controlled by the reality. And that's why I really love that book.
I love it. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to go on a mental time travel. Even though from what I hear, your life has been amazing, if you could go back 10 years to talk to the 10-year younger Jess, what is a gift or a piece of advice that you would give her to help her navigate the upcoming years?
Okay, so 10 years ago, oh wow. So that's interesting because about 10 years ago, I went through such a dark period. And I'm telling you the highlight reel, Chris, but I'll tell you, my twins were small and I had this complete crisis where I lost my dad at 20 and that there was so much guilt. I had never processed his loss and it manifested years later. Over 10 years later, this whole just kind of unfurling of that guilt and sadness that had never been processed. And that was such a black and dark period. And if I really truly had to go back and look at that time, oh gosh, I'm so grateful for the people that got me through that dark period. But I will tell you that I would tell that person like the greatest days are ahead of you. I tell myself that now. I think, gosh, every day is such a gift. It gets better and better. But during that time, there are people, and people might be listening to this that are in a dark time in their life. And it just like the best days have already happened or behind them. And I remember at that point thinking, gosh, I was probably 33, 32 years old. And I felt like I'd already lived the best days. And I thought there was not much hope ahead of me. And it was all that just processing out so much and someone telling me the greatest days are ahead, the best. You haven't even come close to the best days that you'll ever live. And I think that's probably what I would tell myself 10 years ago is watch out because you can't even imagine the blessings ahead of you. And I would tell anyone going through that hard time, like your greatest days are ahead.
I love that. And, I identify with that. And, my greatest loss for me has been, I've recently divorced and I'm a year out of it. And it was when she left, it was like, I will never get better. This was everything to me. And then it took me about a month and people were like, wow, that was quick. But with what I do, I don't have time to be depressed. I don't have time to be down. I get paid off my energy and my positive thinking. And within that month, and I'm a very God-fearing person, and that fear is respect and love, not I'm scared. So I like putting that out there. But I began seeing that I was not living up to my true and full potential and my purpose, and things that I needed to do and get done weren't going to get done with her in the position and state that we were in. Mm. And even though the marriage was amazing from where I was sitting, it was necessary for me to be freed of it, to be doing what I'm doing now. And what I'm doing now eclipses everything that I was thinking about doing back then. And so to know that your greater days are ahead of you is very inspiring. And it's the greatest fuel source that you could have once you know that, okay, I'm ramping up to some even better and bigger things. And so I can really identify with that.
Yeah. Sitting with someone in that pain, that time that they're in that pain and just reminding them the best days are coming. That's a gift to give someone. It's not rejection, it's redirection. And you look back on that in hindsight, you can feel it. You hear that in you, that you really have a good reflection of what that was and why it was. I think some good advice, and I just posted about this the other day, is that when something negative happens, forcing yourself to say, this is good because you get a flat tire. This is good because it didn't blow out on the highway. And this is good because I needed new tires anyway. And now I'm able to get my car towed and someone's going to force me to do it. And this is good. And if you just say, this is good because, my kids were driving me bananas, and this is good because I took a time to pause and reflect on how grateful I am that there's noise. Someday I'm going to miss this noise, and this is good. And so I think that's some of the best advice that I've gotten. And I just tell people, if you can train yourself to see anything as for your favor, as for your benefit.
I love it. So when something negative happens, say, this is good because.
Mhm.
And I love that word because one thing I learned was after my divorce, and I've learned so much within the past year, was when you give a compliment, I can say, Jess, you're just fucking amazing. And you're like, okay, thanks. But if I say, Jess, you are absolutely amazing because your energy inspires so many people. When you smile and do this, you're going to be like, okay. And everything that you just got praised on, you'll take it up exponentially because well, hell, I'm going to be even more amazinger, if that's a real word. It might be now.
Right.
All right. So I want to go in the opposite direction now. We went 10 years in the past. Let's go in the future. And what is a gift you would want from your future 10 years in the future self, or a piece of advice?
I think the greatest gift, honest, it's funny when you become a parent, and this, when you become a parent, the greatest gift is to know that in 10 years, so that means I'll have a 24-year-old, two 22-year-olds, and a 14-year-old. And I think the greatest gift would be knowing that they are people who love other people and leave the world so just beautiful in their trail. I think that's the greatest that I raise kids who love the Lord, who love other people, who will never be shaped by negativity, who say, not today, Satan, just to look back and say, like, they had a good foundation. I think that's, if I think about 10 years, I think that's the greatest thing, is that you leave a legacy that the kids are living.
Nice. I love that. Seeing your legacy. All right. So I want you to put your imagination cap on. Now, let's just say you came across the access codes or an access code key that would access every satellite ever invented. And it gave you the power to come up with the Jessica law or the Jessica commandment that everybody would have to live and govern themselves by. What would that one commandment or law be?
Do what you say you'll do.
Like that. Do what you say you'll do.
Person of your word. If you commit to do it, it's exhausting to me to watch people say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then they quit on themselves before they ever even try. And that exhausts me. It's exhausting. I think the stopping and the starting is what I look at people and think, man, it's tiring for me to look at you stopping and starting and say, I'm going to do it. You do it for with half-hearted effort, and then you stop and then come back someday and say, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it for real this time. And then you don't. And looking at people that are doing that tires me out. I despise that in myself if I see it. So, when I make a commitment, I really challenge myself to say, do you mean this? Are you serious about
Right.
it? How serious? On a 1 to 10 scale, how serious am I? How committed am I? And I think if there was some blanket law that I could tell people, this is the single lever that changes your life, is do what you, if you're not serious about it, don't say it.
Exactly.
Get out there. Because you don't even take yourself seriously at a certain point.
And that's bad when you don't take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
Worst thing you do.
One example, I say to my husband, I'll be ready in 5 minutes. And I don't even believe myself. So when I hear myself saying that, I think, Doug, you know what? You go on ahead. I'll be there probably in 35 to 45 minutes. I don't even know what I'm wearing yet. Don't even believe me when I say I'll be ready in 5 minutes. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the people that are waiting for me. It's not fair to me to hear myself talking nonsense. So if I could find the access code, I'd say, let's all just say what we're going to do and be committed to it, honor it. And also I'd get myself ready a lot faster. So if I could have two.
There you go. So basically your word is your credit score, basically, is what I just heard.
That's true. I
love that. So, so the purpose of the Better You Better Life podcast is to really nail down and figure out what fulfillment is, what success is, and what true happiness is, taking money out of the equation. Because money is important. It's the door opener. It's an opportunity maker. It's a bloodline to do things and to have that resource. However, I know so many people that have money, so many people that find money, but never find what it is they're looking for. So if I could ask you, because from the limited exposure I've had to you and now talking to you now, I'm a firm believer of energy, frequency, and vibration. You're happy. You're living your best life right now. What do you call success, happiness, and fulfillment? If you want to break it up in 3 parts, or you can put it into one, it's on you.
So I think that there's a component where there's a contentment with your circumstances, and there's a discontentment with where you are relative to where you could be. So I think that those are the 2 things that I've really gotten comfortable with. I used to be in this state of comparison that would leave me just sucked of joy, right? And I just tell people that was the greatest depleter of joy. The thief of joy is this comparison. I look at other people and go, I know I'm doing okay, but they are doing great. When I get there, then I'll be happy. So there really was work that I did to say, I love where I am. Thank you, God, for every blessing, because honestly, I just know that God never would bless you he would never give you 100 until I started thanking him for 10.
Exactly.
I had 10 and I wanted 100, but I looked at the 10 with such disregard that I knew he would never multiply what I had until I started saying, I am so grateful for the 10. And I look at people and I just think, gosh, if I could just give you that wisdom, because it caused me a lot of friction, a lot of discontent, a lot of sleeplessness, a lot of just negative self-talk of comparison. And so that's the first thing, is I think that getting comfortable and so confident and grateful for what you have, that a whole foundation of gratitude. I wanted 100, but wow, I have 1. I'm so glad I have 1. And then I think that there also is this restlessness that has been such a key to happiness, though. People go, oh, how can you be happy when you're restless? Because I always want more. It's never enough. I'll never rest in this. And we fostered 9 foster placements. But what I think is the coolest thing is the compound effect is the more I talk about foster care, the more families say, hey, we're going to do that. I didn't realize what it was until you started talking about it. So I'm never content. When you tell me there's kids waiting, there's kids having to go to group homes, I'm never content because I know we could do more. And I also just look at this and think, wow, okay, well, we've been, able to be a bridge or a home for kids, but what about the parents? If we were on the same side of the table as people, but for the grace of God, go I, these are just people. And when I started seeing the world like that, I thought, wow, we could really create a different ripple effect by loving these parents in a different way. And, I'll just tell you, there's this story of just what creates happiness in me is that you could see it. I could look at the same situation as someone else is looking at this situation, and we could see it totally differently. So one of our first foster placements was a little boy. He was almost 3 years old. He barely spoke. You'd throw a ball to him and he would let it hit him in the chest. And he was a beautiful boy, best smile, but really just had a challenging life. My parents were, just involved in drugs and really had some addiction issues. So I have him and I get him, and we had him for 18 months. And it did not look likely. We thought we'd adopt him, and it did not look likely that his parents would, rehabilitate and be able to reunify. But you know what? They did. In the last 3 months, they had this unbelievable turnaround. And when I tell you that his mom, I know, and his mom and dad, both, they consider us like family. And they come and have dinner at my house. I drove her when she didn't have a driver's license or a car to get her GED on Tuesday nights. And he'd be in the back seat and he'd say, Mommy, can you turn up the radio? And she would say, I don't know if he's talking to you or me. But I knew that I had and I said to her when she said, will you drive me to get my GED? I said, you know me well enough to know if you ask me to get your GED, I'm going to send you to college. We're not going to stop until you live in potentiality.
That's
and
powerful.
I knew they're thriving. They're absolutely, especially, but the coolest thing is our little boy, our group little boy that we all just love so much. He is a shining light. I tell him all the time, he could talk a dog off a meat wagon. He's athletically gifted. He's funny. He's bright. he's the opposite of what came to us when he was almost 3 years old. He now speaks and runs and throws and just is he's like plays football, and I'm so proud of him. And I just think that there was this contentment that I loved him where he was, but there was a restlessness and a discontentment that I thought you could be so much more. You were here
Wow.
for special purpose. So I think that's it. Is this the same side of that coin, is that you are content and grateful, but you have a restlessness
Wow.
and a discontent. There's best days are ahead.
Wow. And I love that, being a bridge for change and happiness. It's, some people don't have the pathway to get there, and you're that pathway. And out of everything I think you said, that might make the most change in me, because that is huge. Be the bridge for someone's change and happiness. And to hear that she's like, okay, I want to get my GED. Like, great, we'll get you there. But you're not stopping. You can't stop on the bridge. You have to cross over. And that is powerful. So the final thing, and then I'll let you get back to your busy day leading your team of amazing people. So we're going to use prompts, and to end with a conversation. 2 prompts. I have 6 different stacks of cards. I want you to pick 2 numbers between 1 and 6.
Okay. 1 and 5.
Uno, and there we go. All right. And I think I know the answer to this. When do you feel happiest?
I feel happiest when all my family's together laughing. Our house is full.
Nice. And from what I hear, you have a big family, a big thriving family. And I think it's a revolving door of family.
Lots of family.
That's beautiful.
Family. Yeah, lots of kids who've been through our home and still come back and know it's home.
Oh man, that's a true blessing. And then what conversation do you need to have with yourself today?
Today I need to have a conversation with myself that it's okay to be still.
Wow.
It is okay to be still. Yeah.
And I can see, knowing you and know what I know about you, I can see why you need that conversation.
Yeah, I'm a multitasking queen. Like you said, I'm out. I got to get my work in it. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to listen to a podcast while I'm there. And you know what? I don't really have a lot of time to do this. So I got to go to the dentist. I'm going to run to my dentist appointment, listening to personal development, and run home with my toothbrush, listening to a podcast. And honestly, sometimes it's so much input that I sat on, we have these big windows in the back of our house, and deer are out there. And the other day I just sat down and I was watching the deer, and I said to my husband, I haven't felt this relaxed just sitting here watching the deer. He said, you're turning into your grandfather who loved to do that. And I said, you know what? He was such a happy person.
Yes.
He was a happy person, and he would watch the squirrels and almost had domesticated them. But he was such a joy-filled person, because as busy, he was the postmaster of a big post office in a big town, very respected, knew everybody, built this big swim club, amazing man, so accomplished. But he would take time to be still. And I just remember that was the source of so much joy for him, watching the squirrels. And here I am watching the deer. And I can see why my husband said, you're turning into, we called him G Poppy. You're turning into G Poppy. And honestly, if that's the case, Chris, that is a very good thing to turn into.
It is. It is. It is paying attention to the small things.
Yes.
So,
busy, like we glorify busy so much. That multitasking, that how much can I pack into a small amount of time? That's been my mantra of life. But in all honesty, it can really crash down on you, be ineffective.
Well, then I'm going to challenge you with that. I'm going to challenge you to schedule your silence, schedule your you time, and make sure you get that. I'm going to watch a deer or two, but keep being great and keep producing some just fucking phenomenal people, because I am watching what y'all are doing, and I'm adding on to my greatness. And I will say, I need to take a couple of seconds just to sprinkle some sugar on your already sweet cake. You are phenomenal. The energy that you radiate is, you have no idea what it does to people that it ripples down on. I love your energy, your vibration. I haven't met your husband, but he sounds like he is just fucking phenomenal. And keep doing what you're doing, because we need more of that. And I am trying to make sure my radiation is as radiating as what you guys are doing over there.
I'd say it is. I think you're doing a phenomenal job there, Chris. And I'm so looking forward to watching everything unfold that you've got going on. It's really special.
I got a lot going. So, and you know, the one thing is trying to juggle everything. I want to get better at the multitasking without becoming a multitasker because I know they say it's impossible, but apparently you're doing very well with it. So with that being said, thank you so much. You are amazing. And I look forward to seeing more great things coming out of you. And if you ever need anything, just reach out to me. If I can, I will.
Thank you, Chris. Have
All
a great
right.
day. Take care.
Bye.